Alright, you little mathematicians, adding and subtracting fractions part 2. This one I'm going to talk about fractions that have uncommon denominators and how we can add them together. First example, what is 1/4 plus 1/8? Now this is a somewhat easier example because fourths and eighths are related because 1/4 equals 2/8. See if that makes sense to you. These are two equivalent fractions. 1/4 equals 2/8. You know, you can always come up with equivalent fractions by multiplying the numerator and the denominator of a fraction by the same factor. So in this case, if we multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2, we go from 1/4 to 2/8. Alright, but I'm going to use a visual model here to illustrate what 1/4 plus 2/8 is. So we start with an array that has eighths. So here we have our rectangle carved into eighths. We're starting with 1/4. As I just showed, 1/4 is 2/8. If you want to be able to see that a little more clearly, you can see there are 4 columns here. So we're going to shade in one of our columns. And notice that's 2 out of the total of 8. Now if we add 1/8 to that, we now have 1, 2, 3/8, right? So 1/4 plus 2/8 equals 3/8. You can kind of see it visually. But what if we have a more difficult question? I can't turn thirds into fifths or fifths into thirds. So how can I add 1/5 plus 1/3? Well, in this case, I'm going to make an array, which is just something that has columns and rows, right? Columns, rows. And I'm going to, since it's 1/5 is the fraction I'm beginning with, I'm going to make 5 columns. And since 1/3, 3 in the denominator, is the fraction I'm adding to that, I'm going to make 3 rows. So because fifths, 5 columns, because thirds, 3 rows. Now, okay, so what is 1/5 plus 1/3? Well, notice I'm going to illustrate my 1/5 over here. There are 5 columns, so I'm going to shade in one of them. There. This is 1/5. 1/5 is shaded over here. Now I'm going to shade in 1/3 over here. Well, I have 3 rows, so I'll shade in one of them. That will be 1/3. I've now shaded in 1/3 of this whole rectangle and 1/5 of this whole rectangle. Now if I add those together, what do I have? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But 8 what? Well, if you count how many boxes are in this big box, you'll find that there are 5, 10, 15. Or if you count this way, you'd see 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So I have 8/15 is my answer. 8/15 will be the answer of 1/5 plus 1/3. So here's another tricky question. What's 1/10 plus 1/6? Now, you can draw an array that would be a big rectangle, you know, a very big rectangle that would have 10 columns. I'm not sure this is actually 10, and 6 rows, and you can see what coloring that all in, and that's fine. If you want to do that, that is awesome. I love that, and I would totally encourage you to do that. But I also wanted to show you probably the way you were taught in 5th grade. So I've broken it down to 4 rules. 1, find a common multiple of 10 and 6. A multiple, the LCM, right? The least common multiple. You don't actually have to find the least common multiple. You just have to find a common multiple of these two denominators. We're going to use that as a common denominator. Find equivalent fractions with those common denominators, and then add. So I'm going to show you how to do this. If you feel like you've got it, you can stop here, but I am going to demonstrate how to do this. Alright. So here we go. What's 1/10 plus 1/6? First, I need to find a common multiple of 10 and 6. So I'm going to list some multiples of 10. And I'm going to list some multiples of 6. 18, 24, 30. And I'll notice that 30 is a common multiple. of 10 and 6. So now I need to turn 1/10 into something that has 30ths in the bottom. Well, hopefully you'll see that the way I can get from 10 to 30 is by multiplying by 3. So I need to do the same to my numerator. 1/10 is the same as 3/30ths. 1/6 is the same as how many 30ths? See if you can solve that on your own. 1/6 is the same as how many 30ths? Good. Since we have to multiply 6 by 5 to get 30, we'll multiply the 1 by 5. 1/6 is the same as 5/30ths. Now I'm going to take these equivalent fractions that I created, and I'm going to add them together. As we saw in the last video, when you have fractions and you're adding them and they have the same denominator like this, you just add the numerator straight across. So we'll get 8/30ths as our answer. Excuse me, finding it very hard to write zeros. Now we can start to simplify this fraction. You can see that maybe you'll be able to see that we can simplify it to 4/15ths, but honestly, if you get 8/30ths, I am totally happy with that answer at this point. Thanks. In the final video, I'm going to show you how to subtract, which basically works the same way as adding. Hope you were able to follow this. Thanks a lot for watching.